Welcome home, neighbors.
Welcome home, neighbors.
Hello, neighbors.
We're listening from
Arizona,
Florida,
Maryland,
New York,
New Jersey,
Minneapolis,
California, Utah,
Michigan,
Iowa, Massachusetts,
Georgia, Canada,
our home resort is
Animal Kingdom,
Polynesian,
Bay Lake Town,
Old Key West,
Riviera,
Boardwalk,
Alani Resort,
Hilton Head,
Boulder Ridge, Copper Creek,
Grand Floridian,
Saratoga Springs,
Beach Club,
and Wilderness Lodge.
and you're listening to
and you're listening
You're listening to my Welcome home, neighbors, to episode 134 of the Community Hall Live podcast. My name is Chad Pennycuff, and I am your host tonight as we have this conversation about solo trips and taking your kids to Disney on a one-on-one level. Now, there's parts of DVC, if you're new to DVC, that really lend itself to this as well. Because some of y'all could be new thinking, oh my gosh, Disney is so incredibly expensive and you guys pull off one-to-one trips. Well, we have some secrets and some tips to that. So let me come back in and I will work in my ad read for our sponsor tonight on this, but it all comes down to once you're a Disney Vacation Club member and you have prepaid points, you can come back in and stretch and splurge a little bit. So you might stay a little bit on the thrifty side this trip to free up some points just to come back in with a special trip for a kids or a couples only trip. And then of course we've biannual passes at a discount. So it's like once you've got prepaid annual passes and you've got prepaid rooms, all you're really looking for then is either a quick drive down or a deal on some airfare and a free weekend, and you're pulling this thing together. The other thing that we all know about here, if you've been listening to our show long, we come back in and we talk about DVC Rental Store some. So just so you guys know, you can come back over here, and I know we're members, or at least most of my audience is, but you can click on this guest tab here and look at browse reservations. Scroll down a little bit and put this filter on here that say, hey, just show me the deals and the discounts. And now you can start to come back in on this and start to see some resort stays that are coming up as low as $15 a point. And when your dues can be $10 a point, it's really not a bad deal to come back in and pick up some cheap rental points at $15 and make some of these stays a lot more affordable. Now we're looking at a lot of 2 bedrooms, which are really, on the pricey side because there's so many points. But if you scroll down through here, you can find one for $490 for a 2 bedroom. That sleeps 9 people. If you were to do like a couple of families in that would be a pretty good deal. We've also seen some Hilton Head on here, and there was a $200 a night Saratoga room as well. Did not pop for me when I just ran this filter right here, but it did earlier today, and that could mean that somebody already grabbed that deal. But I want to do a huge shout out to our sponsor, DVC Rental Store, and let you know how you can work them into our lifestyle type shows, such as this, where we're talking about bringing our kids on one-on-one trips to Disney. In today's show, we are going to be treating this more like a panel discussion with some basic questions. And we'd like you to drop a comment down below if you've got one, or add into the conversation. And if you're watching live, we'll try to work it in. If you're making a comment on the delayed stream or the replay, we'll still try to come back in and answer your questions on that as well. So let me welcome to the show a really good friend of the show, Annalie. How you doing today, Annalie?
Hi, Chad. I'm great. Thanks.
Hey, Annalie, how long have you been a member, and where's your home resorts?
We have been members since just right at the 1st of January of 2019, and we have a home resort at Boulder Ridge. That's our only home resort.
Oh, wow. That's pretty rare these days to find a super active member in our community that only has one home resort. So, yeah.
It's true. Looking for Boardwalk. That's coming in the pipeline, I think.
See, what did I tell you? I knew something was coming there, that, you couldn't just have one, right? It's kind of like potato chips. You just can't stop at one. And
absolutely.
So speaking of which, let's add our friend Glenn Kessler to the show today. How you doing today, Glenn?
I'm doing great, Chad. So glad that I get to be on with you again.
Yeah. So how long have you been a member and where's your home resorts?
Well, very much thanks to you. I needed that nudge to get that first contract and finally bought in after the pandemic, 2021 Polynesian, bought some resale points, and the Adonitis started kicking in almost immediately. 2022 had to buy those fresh, shiny new Grand Floridian points. So I've got 2 contracts now.
2 contracts now as well, some direct, some resale. And I'm loving that strategy there. Loving that. And then let's bring in as well my neighbor from Michigan and also good friend of many, many, many shows together. It's good to have you back on the show. Alicia, how you doing today, Alicia?
I'm great. It's great to be back. It's been a while, but I'm excited to be here tonight.
Yeah. And how long have you been a member and where's your home resorts?
2016, and we have Polynesian and Riviera.
Awesome. Right. See, you guys are like cashing the checks that I write here about people wanting multiple contracts. I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Right.
So let's start off with this basic question tonight as to what prompted solo trips to start happening in your family. Annalie, do you want to lead us off here?
Well, it was selfish of me, Chad, because I was a Disney addict and I wanted to go all the time, but we couldn't afford for our entire family of 5 to go. So I would say, why don't I take, one of the kids down for a special trip? And it actually started with my son in 2018. Actually, no, it was 2019, right after we purchased our contract, I think. And I took him and we stayed a couple of nights in Copper Creek, and then we stayed a couple of nights over at Pop Century. And we had such a great time. And then for my daughter's 13th birthday, I said, I'll take you on a Disney cruise. And so I took her to the parks ahead of time because we had 93 points on a resale contract that was about to expire. Our cruise started on March 1st. Our pre-night was February 28th. And guess what use year I had? March. So literally I used those 93 points at the very last minute to take her to the Grand Villa at Bay Lake in the Lakeview, which people were talking about in the pre-show. We had one night, one
night, 2 people in a Grand Villa.
Because those points were going to be lost if we didn't use them. And it felt so over the top.
Okay. Yeah. I get using the points, but okay. The bar's pretty high here, but I think I know it's coming down the pipe. So it's going to get beat, but okay.
So then she was like, we got to do this again. I'm like, babe, we don't have the points to do this again, but it was totally worth it. And we ended up going to the after hours party at Magic Kingdom. But ultimately, to answer your question, Chad, it was my own selfishness because I wanted to go couple 2-3 times a year. And I didn't want to have to, pay for 5 people to go. So it was
honest.
Bring one kid along.
We'll give you honest points on that.
And then spend some time with the kid too. Of course, that's one of the best parts.
Glenn, now your family has like an entire tradition here. So what kind of started this, and give us the high level nutshell of this tradition here?
Well, that was exactly the word I was going to invoke, is tradition. We have 3 boys, all separated by about 2.5 years. And when you have this many children, and I know the Austins understand this, you don't get a lot of individual time with each of them. And so we were always going down to Disney World a lot, but as a big group, I thought, this would be a great idea. I actually got this idea from a friend of mine, a student of mine, who had 4 kids. And she said, we always try to schedule a one-on-one, one child, one parent trip whenever we can, at different ages, different milestone ages, just to get a connection back with them. It's all about that one-on-one. So at age 5, we crafted a little itinerary that at age 5, the children would go on a trip with dad one-on-one. At age 8, they travel with mom one-on-one. 11 back to me, and 14 back to her. It worked out because of the staggering of their ages that was one trip per year for our family. So it was easy enough on the budget too, to kind of know there was just going to be one of these trips every time. So at this point, my kids are 12, 10, and 8. We have done all of the 5-year-old trips and one of the 11-year-old trips so far. And the funny story is all the 5-year-old trips. Well, the first one we got started was Pop Century. There's actually a hilarious story how we tried to do it on the real cheap and do camping, and that just blew up, and we got a
Yeah,
night.
that doesn't even sound fun to me, but
Yeah, we got out of there real quick into air conditioning. The kid could, was so happy. Finally, we have air conditioning and running plumbing. But so that set the standard for pop or all stars for the 5-year-old trips. But by the time my eldest AJ got to his 11-year-old trip, we had started getting into DVC and seeing the finer side of Disney World. So we did Star Cruiser for his 11-year-old trip, wanted to arrive a day early, threw on Animal Kingdom, and definitely wanted to stay a day after and, kind of come down from it. So another day at Copper Creek. The kids are ruined at this point. I think we've shown them too good of a time, and now we are DVC owners. So it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. Once you threw Star Cruiser in there, and now that it's closing, it's like, I don't know how you're going to dig yourself out of that hole. Cause
I know this is brutal. I don't know what to tell the other ones when their trips come up.
So, okay. Yeah. I feel for you there. We'll work with you and figure something out there.
First world problems. Yes.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Alicia, what started off your family solo trips?
The first one, my oldest was turning 12 and wanted to do something again just to get that connection kind of back. And we actually didn't do Disney, but we went to New York City and did Aladdin. So I took her to see Aladdin there. So a little bit of Disney. And then the next trip that came up, my youngest was going to turn 6 on the 6th of June. So her golden birthday. We were trying to think of something special to do because that was the first kid's golden birthday. My other ones have, later in the month birthday. So it was the first one and wanted to do something special and started looking around. And I'm like, we could go Pop Century, ironically, for the first one. We could do this relatively cheap and we could take her to Disney. Like, what 6-year-old wouldn't blow their mind that just mom and dad were taking her? So we surprised her that morning that we were going to leave. Everybody kept a secret, cleared it with the older two because didn't want jealousy, raising its ugly head in the middle of her special trip. Everybody was on board, got there. We had special shirts made. A lot of her favorite things. She loves Star Wars. So it was one of the first dessert parties that they did for Star Wars fireworks and dessert party. And the last park day, we just ended up getting up really early that day and decided to head out and hey, let's see how early we can get to Magic Kingdom. And we were literally the first people to show up there. And we got talking to security guards. Then we got talking to cast members. And next thing you know, we got pulled aside and we're family of the day. So got to open the park with Mickey for her golden birthday. I don't know how we, can top that. Jealousy then reared its ugly head when the other two found out we got that special thing and they didn't. And then because we had done it with the two girls, my son, we hadn't done a solo trip with him yet. So Moonlight Magic came up. After we joined DVC, it was the first kind of Moonlight Magic experience that came up. And we're like, well, we found really cheap flights. We got DVC points. We even get in the park for free because we didn't have annual passes then so we did 16 hours in Orlando Bender. We flew in, got in around 4 o'clock ish. I think we landed, rented a car, went straight to Magic Kingdom for Moonlight Magic. And we had a 6 a.m. flight home. Which ended up getting canceled. So we spent a little bit longer there, but yeah, we were flying in, flying out for it.
Yeah. Those in and out trips are kind of crazy. So for us, what ended up happening was my oldest is 17 now, and I don't get to see her between Orlando, Detroit, whatever. When I am there, she's always off with their friends. She's working, she's doing this. So she's in culinary school in high school and really wanted to go to some high-end restaurants. And I was like, okay, well, it's kind of an educational thing here. I'm kind of game for it. So she asked me to take her to Vegas. And I was like, well, it's Vegas and kids and not the greatest place, but there is some really nice places to eat there and some really good culinary things. So I agreed to it and I took her, right? And then by the time we got home, the other two started saying, hey, wait a minute now. Reagan got to go here and dad's complaining about how much money he spent on this trip because, we had to go to Guy Fieri's places. And then we went to Hell Kitchen and all kinds of fun stuff like that. And they're like, well, when's our trip? And then my son, Lincoln, who's 10, started saying, Dad, I can't wait till Super Nintendo World opens up and I want to go to Hollywood and go to Nintendo World. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to wait either. So I guess we're going. And then Bryn came along and she was like, well, I just want to go to Grand Traverse, or not Grand Traverse. She wanted to go to Mackinac Island. And if you're from Michigan, it's like right up here at the point is Mackinac Island. It's about a 4 or 5 hour drive from our house, something along those lines. And I was like, I'm flying everybody else places. Like, dream bigger, kid. Like it's Mackinac Island is cool, but like we're from Michigan and it's in Michigan and like it's like dream bigger. And so she finally agrees to come back into, she's like, Dad, I don't like theme parks. That's yours and Lincoln's thing. I'm not a theme park person. And I'm like, you're killing me here, kid. Like, but she's into dance. So I said, well, why don't we go to New York City and we will go to see some Broadway shows. And just to make sure that you're into them, we'll go see The Lion King on Broadway. And so that's what we ended up doing in Blue Man Group. And then I swear to goodness, every single kid found some YouTuber, Instagrammer, influencer that's doing something, and we had to go by their place too. So it was St. Honore Donuts in Vegas. It was this Dobrik's Pizza in LA and West Hollywood, and then the Ice Cream Museum and Catchin' Ice Cream in New York, because that's who she had seen on social media. So that was kind of how we got into this for ourselves, right? And let me come back into this and go, now for each of your guys' trips, what kind of made those trips unique in your family or your situation, right? I kind of got into this a little bit here with a little bit of the backstory on my kids. So I've kind of answered this on my behalf. Annalie, what was unique about yours?
Well, definitely staying in the Grand Villa. That was unbelievable.
That's over the top. Like,
that's totally over the top.
Y'all had your own floors.
Yes, we did. We actually did. She slept in the upstairs because in the Grand Villa in Bay Lake, there's the 2 levels, and there are 4 balconies that look out over the lake in the Lakeview side. And so we each had a bedroom, and then there's 2 extra bedrooms that we could go out and check out the balcony and look at the Grand Villa. But it was so cool walking in. It just felt so exciting. And then I also got us tickets to the Disney, the Magic Kingdom after hours special ticket that night. And so we didn't, because we were just there one night before a cruise, we did not do like parks except for that. But that was a really special, fun way to do it. And I think that's a great opportunity if you're taking a kid by themselves to, if there is a special event, take them to the special event. Or if there's a special dining situation that maybe you wouldn't all do because of cost or whatever, that's a good time to do it as well with your your one child. But we had it's still a memorable, it was over 4 years ago, and it's still one of my best Disney memories was that trip with her. And we made sure that we stayed in the villa all morning till the last possible minute.
Till they kick you out at 11 a.m.
We left right at 11. We ordered room service. We sat out on the balconies. We ate our breakfast. We watched the boats go by. It was really, really special. So that definitely made it unique for me.
Yeah. Glenn, you had me at Galactic Star Cruiser, so I don't know what else we can say here, but
I think Annalie really hit the nail on the head with, you're cutting down the cost tremendously when you're just you and one other person. So splurge, go on Star Cruiser. And that was actually a really special trip because not only did I get to go with my one son, I've now convinced my brother of this tactic. And so he brought his eldest son on the Star Cruiser as well. So the 2 brothers with their eldest sons enjoying, this wonderful experience. It cut down the cost for both of us, of course. So it was only,
and great cousins time as well, right? Cousins.
What's that?
Cousins
and
time
cousin
as
time.
well.
cousin time and brother time. That it's supposed to be a bonding experience between dad and the kid, but the truth of the matter, if you've heard anything about Star Cruiser, is the kids go off with all of the other children and run the show. You don't see them hardly at all, maybe meals or something like that. And it gave me a lot of good bonding time with my brother, which was unexpected. Now I had the day before and the day after to really connect with my big guy, and to talk about the anticipation going into it, our backstories, the whole thing. And then at the end, how did it go? How did we enjoy our experience? And, just to really, really kind of bask in that and come down and relax a little bit. But, for me, aside from the cost, the real difference in these trips versus the full family trips is the bond, is that ability to connect one-on-one, the hubbub of life, all the responsibilities of sport practices and school responsibilities out the window. It's just you and them. And we try to go for about 4 or 5 days to make sure that we're getting enough, time between our normal lives and to really sink into the vibe of a trip. And I can't tell you how great it's been. AJ, my eldest, he's a little carbon copy of me. High energy, loves the big rides, always trying to meet new people and talk and everything. But my second son, my middle son, Harrison, he's very different. He's very quiet. He didn't like a lot of big rides. And so, and this will come up when we talk about tips, but I really wanted to understand him through this trip. And he and I won't say we had a bad relationship, but we didn't really see eye to eye before the trip. Having done these 4 or 5 days together when he was at this formidable age, this 5 years old, I really feel like I came out of that experience with a greater appreciation of what made him tick, and our relationship was stronger as a result. We didn't go on big rides. We stayed and watched parades and met characters and took it slow. And he showed me a different way to do Disney. I was really impressed and inspired by that experience. I've tried to carry that with me.
Yeah, very much so. So, Alicia, what made these trips unique for your family?
Each trip we tried to do something that, focused in on that kid's desires and that kid's needs. And, like I said, the first Disney one, we did the Star Wars dessert party. We did, literally everything you could book Star Wars at the time. This was obviously before Star Wars Land, but everything we could book Star Wars, some of her favorite meals, all of those things. We also, I didn't mention it earlier, we ended up taking my daughter, my oldest, for her golden birthday as well. She turned 16 on the 16th. That's the shirt I'm wearing. We made special shirts. And, but she was more into unique things, unique characters, in food. And so we did a lot of dining experiences and, spent more of the Moonlight Magic time with the special characters instead of going on the rides. And so, try to just find something unique. And even, you guys talked about splurging, and we've done a fair share of that, but just some of the lower cost things we found that we've never done. So we'll start to look at the list of things that are offered that you've never done. And for my daughter's 16th birthday, we didn't have annual passes at the time. We had let them go because we were going to Disneyland. And so we were just doing Moonlight Magic. So we tried to find other things that, were at the park, right? And one of the things we found we had a blast on was those little jet boats in Seven Seas Lagoons. And they're really inexpensive, and you add your DVC discount on it. And we had a blast just zipping around in those boats. But it was something none of the other kids had done. And so we just keep trying to find something interesting and unique for each trip.
And something none of them will do either, because I don't think they came back from COVID. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of sad as well. But I do like the part that I've heard in this, and it's again, we're kind of blending to the next question, but it's figure out what's special to that kid and focus in on them as well. One of the unique things that Lincoln and I did, because it was just the two of us, so I was able to come back in and use some Delta upgrade certificates and put us both into first class all the way to California and then California to Orlando. And you would have swore he was on cloud 9 the entire trip, because he's used to, me doing those cheap $19 Spirit flights, right? And now all of a sudden he's rolling like a boss in first class, And it was just an extremely memorable time. And I couldn't do that if I had the whole family with us because I only get 4 of those, you know, coupons a year at best. And I don't even get them every year. So I just so happened to have them. And they were like, yeah, you could do this. And I was like, oh, we're in. So that was something that was really cool as well to be able to come back in and do that unique. And then the other part of it was so much in life, you're constantly telling the kids no, right? Or when they're together with a family, it's like, well, no, we can't go here because your sibling wants to go here. And so I was able to plan a trip where, as much as I possibly could, the answer was yes. And I tried not to use the word no. And that doesn't happen when we're all together because nobody seems to agree and there's fights and disagreements and whatever else. So that was something that was really, really cool that made this unique was I could say yes. And I also started to learn after Reagan's trip, I need to set a budget limit on this and say, I am saying yes up until this dollar amount. And so you can participate in the decisions up to that dollar amount, but I got to cap it someplace. Okay. And that kind of made some fun and interesting things as well as part of our trip because they could start to really participate more in the financial aspects, which they don't do as a big family. And I guess that's kind of on us for our family planning and the way we do that. But at least this one was nice to come back in and do. So let's come back into this. And I want to pick up a couple of comments that people have dropped. And so Tommy has said it started for him and his family before DVC. My 2 oldest kids got to go to Mickey's Not So Scary, but my youngest was not born yet. And so she and me needed dressing up with mom and dad at the Magic Kingdom. She also got a solo trip. So the other 2 needed a solo trip, kind of a yin and yang balance there as well. And then Mark made a comment that my wife and son are not fans of haunted houses. So Hollywood Horror Nights over at Universal Studios has become a father-daughter tradition. And that's another great thing that you can start to do is only do what the kids want because Bryn is not a roller coaster fan. She kills me. And I had to wait until Lincoln could age into the point of doing the coasters. And now he's a huge roller coaster fan as long as it's outdoors. If it's indoors, I still got some talking to do. Okay. But at least the outdoors one, he's all game on. So Velocicoaster, Hulk, Hagrid's, like we're on it, right? It doesn't matter how big it is or how scary it is. He's on it. He can see it. Indoors, yeah, the Mummy is another question. Like not going to happen there as well. But let's come on in over to our third question and final one tonight is what tips and best practices can you share with our listeners and our audience here on planning solo trips? So, Annalie, do you have any that you haven't mentioned so far or some that you want to double down on?
Yeah, basically just pacing with your kids' schedule. If they're a sleeper in or sleep in. If they're a late night person, stay up. Do the things that they want to do. This, like Glenn was saying, this is all about the bonding between the 2 of you. And for you to be able to say yes more than no is always a good thing. And, like when I took my little guy, we were not out that late most nights, but we were doing the pool a lot. So there was a lot of pool going on. And it wasn't hardcore parks. When I went with my 13-year-old, that's that photo. We were up till 1 a.m. at the party. And she got me on a roller coaster, which does not happen. When you're one-on-one, that's the only time mom will go on a roller coaster. And I will be pretty nauseous afterwards, but I take one for the team and we'll go on with the kids. So I think, just making it all about them is a huge key and not being too overscheduled and planned. Just let it be fun. Let it be easy breezy and just have a great time.
Yeah, that is some great tips as well. This is their trip, right? It's not my trip. It's their trip. So It's for about time with them, and it's all about them on these trips. I can't reiterate that enough. And that really played out in all of my stuff as to what I said yes to, because I think she ended up getting ice cream 3 days in a row when we were in New York. The ice cream museum, catching ice cream, and then an ice cream cart as well. And so this is the ice cream museum. I'm going to take down the banner on this so that you can start to see a little bit more of that photo. Let's hide current banner there. Yeah, so a fun story here was we had to pick names. So I picked Cherrylicious Chad for my ice cream name as well. But fun time in New York City. Ice Cream Museum is all about, I guess, Instagrammable ice cream experiences. Is they built a little thing there as well. And we will circle back in and get any photos that we didn't get to work into this tonight as well before we end the show off as kind of our final wrap off there. But Glenn, any other tips that you've got here? I love, let me just state right off the bat, I love the structured age thing. At this age, it's a trip with mom. At this age, it's a trip with dad. Dude, that was just absolutely brilliant. Absolutely, positively brilliant.
The math just worked out beautifully for us, I think, on that front. But it really has been, in hindsight, a boon when they're so young and so playful, and to get to go to Disney World with the big Disney fan, they love it. When they turn 8, mom doesn't take them to Disney. She's not a big Disney fan, so she takes them to. They've done Aruba, Colorado, and just recently. Alden went to Bermuda. So they're enjoying themselves in a different way. Obviously, the 11 to Star Cruiser, I still have to plot what our next 11s are going to look like. But, it's great. And by the way, I just want to say thank you for that gift of Cherrylicious Chad. I think that's your new name. I'm not going to be able to call you anything other than Cherrylicious Chad from here on out. So thank you for that.
I had to have some fun, right?
But to echo some of the points that have been made, but maybe add a little bit of a twist to it. Asking the children what they like, but also asking them what they don't like. I think it can be very easy to, as the experts, to say, I'm going to show you something that that you're going to love. I love Tower of Terror, or I love this roller coaster, or this experience. Tough to be a bug looking at you. Not for very much longer, I suppose, right? But we have to be careful. Like, what are you scared of? What's a little too much for your temperament, or or your pacing? Do you want to take a midday nap? Let's take midday naps. Do you want to stroll out of bed at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock? Readjust your schedule. Use your knowledge and your wisdom that we've gained as Disney experts to help craft an itinerary that you don't have to wake up and rope drop, but you can still experience what you want to. Maybe you splurge on an individual Lightning Lane or a Genie Plus on a day when you normally wouldn't, because you're changing your schedule to facilitate what they want. And I, or a pool day. I mean, let's be honest, we spend all the money on the park tickets and the kids just rave about the pool. So spend time at the pool a little more than you normally would. And just, do the things that they like. Find out what they like, find out what they don't like. The other tip I love, and if you're the kind of family that loves to surprise the kids the day of, or you're on your way to the airport, God bless you. I love that too, and that excitement. But I find my kids really love the planning, and
that's what we found as well.
You too? Yeah. We get it as adults. We get excited dreaming about the meals and the rides and what the day is going to look like, and you get to live that for all of these days leading up to the trip. And then the trip may or may not actually pan out, but you've got all that joy. The kids have shown me that they also experience that joy in the planning, in the organization. They're looking forward to things. When it then happens, it rings bells. Even at 5, I remember it ringing bells for them. Oh, this was what Buzz Lightyear is, or this is what that roller coaster that I was a little nervous, but I said, yeah, I'm going to try it. And now I've done it. They were able to really enjoy the experience, I think, on a deeper level. And of course, with Star Cruiser, and if there's ever anything like that, I mean, we constructed elaborate backstories, bought clothing. We had the whole thing ready to go. That was so much fun in the planning. So even our 2 days felt like just so much broader than that.
I swear to goodness, Lincoln watches every other Disney YouTuber but me. Okay. It's just like
Don't take it personally. Listen, I'm an artist for my living, and like everyone asks me, "Oh, do your kids love doing art?" Nope, because that's dad's job. They don't want to do art. I get it. You know, they're not going to ever follow what we do, right?
yeah,
Keep doing
yeah,
what
but
you're doing, man.
he does take a lot of pride in the fact that he's in the sign off of every single episode as well. And Alicia's daughter is in the intro to this one as well. We saw a comment on that tonight as well. So, but yeah, it's kind of fun, kind of fun. So,
Absolutely.
Alicia, you got any best practices for us tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say the planning side of it too. I think it's so much fun. I mean, we surprised our daughter for her 6th birthday. The rest of them weren't surprises. Hell, I can't even keep a secret. So, I needed to be able to work on the planning, but they love the planning. They're like, okay, mom, did we get this reservation? Hey, can we help you? Can we look for that reservation? Can we, or they'll text me. They're, they should be at school doing schoolwork, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, mom, there's a Topolino's reservation available. So, I mean, getting them involved, they love it. My other tip is, equal, but equal doesn't mean exactly equal. Like, we try to make sure each of them get a special experience, but it's not all the same, and that's okay. And we talk about it, and we talk about the different, ways that, well, they got to do this or they got to do that. But at least being open and honest, like, hey, this is what it is, and this is what we're willing to do. But it's not all the same experience, and you might not get all the same special things that happen. So that was really important, especially when the kids were younger. And then the last thing now is, as they get older, it's kind of been more, interesting. You talk about everything they want to do and not saying no. And I agree with everything everyone said. But now when we go as a family, my youngest is now 13. The older two are older. We say, this is what we're going to do. You guys go do what you want to do. You don't want to do what we do. You go do it. You know what? Last time we were there, they all did everything my husband and I wanted to do, but no one complained because we just said, if you don't want to do it, go do what you. And so
Yeah,
now it's been fun watching that.
That is a beautiful thing. And I had to be so incredibly careful because Reagan and I flew Spirit to Las Vegas, which bottom of the barrel airline, not going to lie. Bryn and I did Southwest and a little bit higher up the food chain, but I had to come back in and go, hey, just so you know, Lincoln and I are doing first, but you have dibs on next year's tickets. Okay. Just to head that one off, because I would have never heard the end of that one.
Oh, they're definitely keeping score. Yes.
Oh, yeah. They're definitely keeping score on that as well. And
I think the airline keeping score is more than anything that happens at Disney, because last year my oldest had to fly Spirit because when we finally booked her tickets, Delta was so much more expensive.
Mhm.
And so now it's like, but wait, you got to fly Spirit. Now I get to fly Delta.
Oh, yeah. And when you're from Detroit, those are the two airlines to take. Like, it's everybody else has to change flights if you're coming to Orlando. So you can get direct on either one, and those are your two choices. Like it is like worlds of difference, right? Especially when you start throwing in Sky Club from Delta and the upgrades, and oh my gosh, yeah, it's just not even funny as well. Let's do this, and I'm going to come back in and I'm going to share some photos, and then I'll have you guys point them out to Gina as well to just start to come back in. And if we didn't catch all of your photos, I want to. But this is a photo of Reagan and I at Hell's Kitchen in Las Vegas, and it's one of the two photos that I have of us together because I think my daughter is so beautiful. I just took photos of her. I don't know why I didn't take them of both of us together. But that's the one photo we have from New York there. And then this is Bryn and I in New York City outside the theater at the Lion King this summer. We've seen the Mushroom Museum. Then, of course, we had to have the Super Nintendo World photo because we cannot wait till 2025 when this comes to, 30 minutes away from the house here in Orlando. And those are my photos. So, Glenn, did we miss any from you that you had sent to upload?
I think I sent one more in of Harrison. I don't know. I guess we saw that one. Or no, I guess we didn't right there. But yeah, Harrison loved Winnie the Pooh. He used to call him Honey the Pooh when he was 5, which I thought was just absolutely adorable. So we had to go enjoy Crystal Palace. We had never been before, and he had the best time hanging out with all the characters. And Tigger is me. That's kind of my nickname, with the red hair, and I definitely bounce around.
Oh yeah. You're high energy, right? If you ever get a chance to go to Yeehaw Bob with Glenn, it'll be a life-changing experience, right? I'm just telling you, when you're here, Glenn, we need to plan a Yeehaw Bob trip and open it up to everybody.
Absolutely. Wear your poncho. It could get rowdy.
Yeah, it could get rowdy. Definitely so. Alicia, are we missing any photos for you?
Yeah, so this is the family of the day photo with my 6-year-old.
Nice.
And then I think there was one more with my son's trip. Yep.
Gina's doing a great job finding all of these for us. She's our producer backstage. So
The funny stepsisters are like his nemesis, but we make them see him every time because they are hilarious with him, and they literally chased him around Fantasyland at one point. So,
oh, that is awesome. And then, Annalie, did we miss any photos that you've submitted?
Yeah, I think we have one in the Grand Villa. Yep, there's Juliana when she was 13 in the Grand Villa. That amazing window. It goes all the way up to the 2 floors.
I'm just drooling. Like, it's...
Yeah. And, she was ecstatic. She's a senior now, so she doesn't look anything like that anymore, but she still loves Disney.
But I think that gets into kind of the core as to why we do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to meet up with a bunch of like credit card YouTubers in Vegas over September, the weekend for Labor Day. And they looked at me like I had a third eye in the top of my head when I'm talking about, no. I talk about Disney Vacation Club and how members actually use our points. And I'll go head to head with any of them that we create life-changing content. The stuff that we talk about are the stuff that our kids will put up at my funeral, right? There will be photos of me with my kids at Disney because we really talk about the best things in life and how Disney Vacation Club allows us to achieve these wonderful family moments. Not that all of their points and miles things don't lead to that. I can just tell you, it is the heartbeat of all that we do here at My DVC Points. And we talk about buying, selling, all of this other stuff, but all of that is just a means to get to the content that we talked about tonight, is awesome times with our families and making memories that will last a lifetime. Because I don't think anybody does it any better than Disney. It's and my audience would agree with me 100% there. That's kind of why they're tuning in.
That's beautifully said. Kay.
Yeah, it's that I had to kind of come back in and say, just in case any of them start to tune in, because they promised me they would check out a show or two. And I warned them that we only do live streams here, that I don't have the editing skills that they do to pull off a edited show. But that does not mean our content is second in any shape, form, or fashion. We hit our mark and dial it in like experts. So I want to thank you guys for joining the show as well. Let me come back in. And I think we're all caught up on listener comments on today's show as well. So let me do a huge shout out, a thank you to our sponsors over at World of DVC, which would be DVC Rental Store, DVC Resale Market, and Monera Financial. So we've got the complete dream team there to help get you in and out of a contract, finance it, and rent points if you want to try before you buy. Or if you bought two extra points and maybe you want to go to Las Vegas and rent some points out and use the cash for that, we've got sponsors that'll help you do that as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Glenn, Alicia, and Annalie, for sharing some of your priceless family memories with us. And hopefully you, the audience, can hear something from our stories. And really, truly, I say this at the end of every show, go out there and plan something magical for your family, because I guarantee you, you will not regret time with your kids when they're young, when they're older, with your grandkids. I know Linda mentioned that in the pre-show that she does this with them, but please take our content and do something that'll really make a difference in your life and your kids' lives. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back next week with another live, and we've got some great podcast episodes coming up with more individual stories and more analysis. I know this week I'm recording Sandy's backstory, and Ron and I are going to do another DVC member incentive show because some new incentives are dropping this week if you're buying direct. And I have no idea what we did right on that show, but it has gotten a ton of downloads and views and from the last one. So we're going to keep doing that as well. Thanks, everybody, and have a great night.
Bye.